Hello traders and welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 149. Iliya here, and as always I'm really glad to have you on the channel. And as you know, in this video we're gonna have a look at the market, how it developed this week, what opportunities did we have, and what we can potentially expect for the upcoming week. Well, this one was actually it started a little bit consolidative, right? We were still stuck in those ranges. We had Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday overall consolidating, waiting for a news release, which this week was the CPI. And after we got this out, we had a little bit of a shake off across the currency board. And then immediately after this, we had a massive Thursday expansion. And also we had a very nice Friday we had some very nice moves on Friday, which we're also going to examine. Of course, right now, a lot is on the line. Like the stock market is plummeting, crypto is plummeting, the Fed, like the rates, interest rates, as I said, inflation, worries. War is ongoing as well, so a lot of fundamentals. I have prepared some stuff for you, so make sure that you follow throughout the videos because I'm throwing little gems everywhere. I missed creating a trading setups breakdown this week as I'm working on my university thesis right now, but in this video we're gonna also cover all of my trades so you can learn something from that. And of course, pretty soon I'm gonna start posting more content, so make sure you're subscribed and turn on the notification bell in order not to miss when those videos come out. All right, and if you already did, what are we waiting for? Let's head into the analysis. Alright, as always, started with $1, but before we do that, shout out to an amazing broker that is Forex.com. It is great with tight spreads, with also a no commission account. But I advise you to pick their eco account because you're going to pay a little commission, but every single lot that you trade will go towards planting 10 trees. And I really love this initiative about them. Check their website out and see them actually planting those trees live. Follow them up right there. But pretty amazing broker, really supporting them. So make sure to check them out. Link is down in the description. All right. So Dixie, what are we having? Well, we're having a sixth consecutive bullish week, right? And again, we pretty much know the drivers of this one. It is interest rate differentials, and a very nice website that I advise you to check out is this one, globalrates.com, which pretty much you can check out all the interest rates and their differentials. This is pretty helpful for carry trades as well, because again, if you ask yourself, why does the currency market move as it moves? Well, it's pretty much interest rates, right? And we can currently see that the rate for the United States is 1%. They hiked it with 50 basis points, and this is pretty much why the dollar is really rampaging to the upside. And of course, if we check out Europe, they haven't taken any action, right? They're still at the zero, which is why we are seeing overall Euro USD plummeting, right? We had, of course, from Australia, which are hiking it up a little bit, and we can see that in price, how, for example, Euro USD, it's much weaker than Aussie USD is, right? And of course, if we check out New Zealand, they are already hiking the rate, and it's even bigger than the United States, right? But then we, of course, have other things to know, right? So, of course, if we go back to the charts, again, what I'm going to tell you again, as every week, is just follow the trend, right? We can, of course, right now start going on the left, but there's pretty much nothing on the left. And we don't want to visit levels from 2002, right? Pretty much right now, our target was this high. It was fulfilled a couple of weeks ago, but we can see that we first spiked it, then we spiked it again. We were expecting this pullback. And the more we expect this pullback, the more the market keeps climbing higher, right? So what I mainly advise you to do is to follow the most recent ranges, preferably on the daily and on the 4-hourly time frame, okay? Because we had this one, and we can see that the market just created one bearish day right there on the 4th of May, and then the next day we're already making a high, okay? So right now what we have on the day is we have a new range, right? And pretty much as you can see on the daily candles, even from last week, 6th of May, right? And then the new week open, we had a kind of an indecision, inside bar, another little fake to the downside, and then we had the expansion on Thursday, and then Friday actually provided a little bit of a pullback, which might give us some nice setups coming into next week, right? Because again, as I told you, well, I'm gonna keep longing the dollar, right? There is no reason for now to be expecting any pullbacks, and of course, price is gonna tell us when this pullback is going to occur. This also depends on the stock market and the overall sentiment, right? I'm gonna take you later to the other screen as well, but pretty much what we have right now is extreme fear, right? So if we are in a situation in extreme fear, and also stocks are dropping, indices are dropping, even crypto is dropping right now, which we're going to cover a little bit later, then people position their money into safe assets, right? Which are usually the JPY and the DXY. And pretty much until we have this fear going on, the DXY is gonna climb, right? And if we start seeing the DXY starting to tumble to the downside, then things might balance out a little bit, and we might see also stocks grow, right? But right now, again, what happened this week is, as I told you, it was a little bit tricky. We were kind of expecting shorts from here. The market actually went higher, and then we ended up in this consolidation. But I promise you, there were a lot of lower time frame opportunities. I traded a lot within the range on EU, and actually when it started trending, I missed the actual long right there. It didn't provide a nice entry. But all we had is the market pretty much spiking below the inside bar. This is an inside bar. There is the CPI, and there is the expansion to the upside that created this breakout structure, right? So right now we're pulling back, and you can of course draw your range like this, from this volatility to this high, right? So pretty much you have 150% right there and another one right there, right? So if you wish to have as much confidence as possible. But if I just focus on the technicals, well, pretty much this is my higher low right now. Of course, we have these kind of zones right there, but if we come so low, then the market is going to potentially even change the structure maybe to bearish. So then I'm going to be really mindful actually trying to long from this zone, right? So what we simply have right now is a very nice expansion that actually happened on Thursday mainly, right? Friday is pulling back. So what I would love to see this week is Monday or Tuesday giving us a sharp drop to the downside, or just a pullback, and then potentially like Tuesday, Wednesday to Thursday setting up buy setups, attacking the highs, right? Climbing a little bit higher. And then of course Friday maybe providing us with a pullback, right? Something like we had this week. So again, nothing too much to say. Of course, I would draw this range, right? The most recent volatility range, because as I told you, I would love to follow the volatility, and we don't have very clean levels right there to potentially long from. So again, I always tell my community as well, as I do analysis every single day, calling out some setups, is it's important to flow, because even if you open the charts on Frankfurt Open, you still don't have like great setups, okay? So currently what we can have as well is a little bit of a counter trend trade, because we can see the hourly time frame is starting to shift a little bit. We have broken the last higher low. We have broken also another one. We have created a little bit of supply right there. Of course, does that mean that we're gonna fully reverse? Well, probably not. But of course, I will be open for some shorts targeting below 50%, right? And then potentially either from these zones or probably from this big zone, I'm going to be looking for a reversal and a potential continuation higher, right? And if we start with a drop to the downside, then what does that mean is potentially the market is driving towards a potential demand area so that it can push up later, right? So this is the DXY for now. We do not have like a textbook setup specifically for Monday, but as I always tell you on my Tuesday outlook, usually the analysis that we do on Sunday or Saturday becomes invalidated, right? So make sure to stay tuned for my Tuesday outlook and setups. And right now, let's head on to EU. All right, let's have a look at Euro USD. So as always, starting from the weekly time frame, another lovely bearish week, but pretty much honestly, this big bearish move happened on just one day, which was Thursday, as we just covered on the DXY as well. And of course, we have already met all of our targets. So this one was the first one which was met. And right now we are potentially traveling towards this one. And we just stopped on the brink of it, right? So I'm pretty sure, right? It's never 100% in the market, but this is potentially where the liquidity is. And this is potentially where we're headed, because we're failing from all of these demand areas right there. And of course, I'm not going to go, what? Okay, so probably Forex.com does not have data back then, but I have to check out a little bit on maybe another broker. But it doesn't make too much sense to be going right there from 2002 and to find areas to potentially go long from, right? What should we be doing right now is to just follow the overall trend, which is to the downside. And of course, as we discussed, once again, if you missed it out on the DXY, currently the Eurozone, the ECB is not hiking their rates yet. They are expecting for them to hike, I think, June or July, right? Again, according to inflation. We're going to cover inflation in a little bit as well. But what we can see right now is that also Lagarde mentioned in one of her speeches this week that inflation is pretty much on target. And if I manage to find, yeah, we do not have Europe. Do we have Europe? No, this is pretty much for, yeah. But what they said is that inflation is on point and that they're not really rushed to raise the interest rate, which is of course pretty bearish for the euro, right? And we can see overall the United States with a yearly inflation of 8.2%. And if we compare this to the majority of Europe, usually the average around Europe is below this, right? So of course we can see why the United States is so aggressive with battling inflation, right? So pretty much back to the charts right now. We can see that we had, again, an overall consolidation, which was a little bit tricky to trade. But again, as I told you, there were opportunities to take, which I'm going to show you right now. Then we had this massive expansion on Thursday, which was after the CPI figures, and we had a little bit of a pullback on Friday, which can potentially set us up for an opportunity for next week, right? So pretty much right now this can be a potential daily zone that we can refine on the 4-hourly time frame. But yeah, we pretty much have this overall range, massive expansion lower. We can even make it this small, right? This sort of range. And of course it's pretty clean right now because we have an overall, like, this is our overall push. We spiked a little bit just below the previous daily low right there to give us a little long. Friday I took a loss on Friday. It was kind of nice, but at the same time it was tricky, so I just stopped trading after one loss. As I told you, I was working on my thesis right now and I'm pretty busy with that, but still pretty happy that I managed to catch some opportunities right there. But again, if you ask me what could potentially happen, well, what I would expect is for us maybe to give us a little bit of a long to pull us back a little bit, especially above 50%, and then I'm gonna start looking for a new structure to form for potential shorts, right? Just following this overall short bias. And what we saw on Friday, right, was I took a little bit of a premature short from right there. Then I actually got stopped out on this move right there. I'm gonna show you in a bit, right? But then I actually had this zone that I wanted to short from, and guess what? I did not take a short right there, which really sucked because then it potentially met the target to perfection, but it is what it is, right? And then we actually spiked below this one, which grabbed the liquidity. And right now we can see some very nice bullish intention right there flowing from the downside, right? So as I told you in the DXY, which was also kind of shifting on the hourly, right? We can see how it's nice and starting to shift together with EU. I do think we might have, let's say, I really like this zone right there because it spiked below this low as well. And then we very massively pushed into the highs, breaking the last lower high, right? So if we have a setup like this, right, I will be eager to take a long as a pullback trade, riding it first towards the high, then towards 50%. And then from there, what we have to do is we have to follow the flow with the markets Tuesday, right? And even, of course, probably Wednesday, because we can have a little bit of a long starting up, creating that weekly wick, right? Creating a little bit of a weekly wick to the upside, right? And then potentially continuing with the drop, targeting this low, right? This is the low, and I really like that we just stopped below tapping it. So then if we actually manage to catch a short, then I pretty much think that this could be a very nice long-term swing target, all right? So pretty much to wrap up my analysis on EU, I'm short biased, but I would expect a little bit of a long recovery, maybe at the beginning of the week. I don't think we're going to get that high again. We never know. But if I get the opportunity to catch any longs from right there, I am potentially going to look for that. Okay, so there is our setup. And what I also found out this week is that if we, so I'm just gonna keep this setup right there just to compare it as we analyze on Tuesday. If we analyze the 4-hourly, because pretty much we were trading in this price action this week, right? The 4-hourly was not clear at all, right? You can of course look in between the lines, but it was pretty hard to do so. So what I did is I focused on the hourly, right? The hourly was a little bit clean. So I'm not gonna spend a lot of time in order not to make this video too long, but starting from Monday, there was a nice pullback trade, which I think was also planned from the weekly outlook, from the last weekly outlook, right? So we had this massive expansion into the highs, right? And if I just give you my thought process, we're taking this long. If I just draw it very quickly, we had this push, pullback, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, boom. We had a break above, right? So then the market reacted from this supply and was supposed to be making a new lower low, right? So this trade was actually aggressive, but I pretty much framed it of this, right? We have 4 bullish candles, then we have a very nice correction towards the downside. So I actually thought that this high is going to get taken, but I do think we never took this high, right? And then we actually continued rolling to the downside. So taking longs this week was rather aggressive, but I think all of my trades, the winners are actually longs, right? So dropping onto the 15-minute, The Asian range started a little bit trending, right? It was still bearish, so what I waited for a nice sharp spike below it, manipulation below, tapping into a demand zone on the left, very nice break of structure on the 50-minute, and then of course it was all about getting on the retest. So I first took a loss, so a little bit premature, but I've taken trades like this, they've worked out great. So what I did is, of course, I spotted this little range right there, this little pullback, sharp expansion into the highs. I had 2 limit orders right there. So the first one was right here, which I'm going to show you right now. And the second one was right there. So I got ticked in right there, stop loss. And then of course it continued higher. So that was pretty unfortunate, right? That was to start the week with. Then I was thinking for shorts, but I said, okay, well, I'm over a long buy, so I'm not going to go big into shorts. This is a potential short to be taken. But then I spotted the market actually entering where my limit was, but I fully deleted it, right? So I was like, okay, why did I delete it? This level is still valid. So what I waited for is for the market to just shift in again, right? We created a lower low, lower high. Then we had a failure right there, MSS formation, push, pullback, higher low formation right there. Kept the stop loss a little bit big. I should have kept it right there, but of course wanted to be a little bit safe. So I took my second trade from right there. And you're gonna see like the MT4 stats are quite a lot because I was taking a lot of partials on this one. Of course, it's Monday. I didn't expect such a big move. Pretty much my first bigger partial was right there at 4R, which is this supply, just in case we actually rode to the downside. But we only had a reaction and then a continuation higher. And then I think I was taking partials along the way, but the final one was closed right there for a 1 to 8. But of course, it was not an 8% trade, right? Because I took partial right there. I probably took another one at 1 to 5, somewhere right there. And yeah, so that was a pretty nice trade, fully covering this one and giving me a nice head start into the week and some risk to utilize going forward. And then we can see that it actually went much higher, right? Some shorts were provided that I did not take. So again, I wasn't really focused this week on the charts, but yeah, then we had a potential long. Where did the long occur? Well, where we actually took our entry, right? So this was another zone tap, but then I did not see any kind of nice entry to take. So I just ended up Monday with this trade, which was a pretty good start. Then going on to Tuesday, this one was kind of a shitty day. No, it was not shitty. It was actually quite good, but I was a little bit out of the zone at it. I did not consider the shorts at all. So I thought, okay, we had a nice push. We had a consolidation push. So I thought that this high is potentially going to go. So I started framing longs in the morning, failing to recognize this beautiful 3 drive into the highs, right? 1, 2, 3, very sharp spike to the downside, retest, 1, 2, 3 shorts to be taken, right? But I didn't take any simply because, well, I don't know. And if I drop to the 1 minute to show you my trade, actually, it was a little bit premature. So I had this demand zone right there. The market tapped inside. We had a lower low, lower high, lower low, break of structure right there, shift of the trend, retest. Kind of stopped me out almost, then pushed. I was like, okay, maybe we're going to continue higher. Then boom, boom, boom. I was thinking to close break even, but I don't like to manage my trades like this. I had quite a few opportunities to close break even, but unfortunately this one hit stop loss. Then I was looking to long from right there, but it was a little bit premature. Then we had the break of structure. Then I hesitated taking this one simply because I was like, well, I don't see like a clear zone right there. But bro, this one was a textbook trade if you took it like this. And I think it precisely gave a 1 to 5. Yeah. So that one was a miss, which is pretty unfortunate. I should have stayed on the charts, but no. I took this trade and I went on writing my stuff. And this one was a beautiful short to be taken right there, another short right there, and then some shorts right there to the downside, which I fully missed. So Tuesday, unfortunately, was just a quick loss for me, and I did not persist later to be taking any more trades. On Wednesday, so what we had on Wednesday is, again, this kind of choppy market, right? But I was seeing the overall bullishness kicking in, but what I was also seeing is that the market was failing to break any new higher highs. Right, so I was kind of bearish, but the positioning of price in the morning was rather bullish, right? I was seeing all of this accumulation right there. There was that liquidity grab push, and we can see how the 50 minutes started building higher highs and higher lows. We initiated the session with a nice push into the highs. Then we had this beautiful pullback. So I thought, well, I can take a trade and ride it towards this wick. And pretty much this high, I thought it's going to get taken to serve as liquidity, then to make the drive. But this was also the CPI day. As you can see, first we kind of took the low, then we took the high, and then we actually continued, right? But fortunately, I managed to snag a little long in the morning. So pretty much I was seeing that the higher lows were being built on the 1 minute right there. We had this last zone of demand that the market perfectly tapped, right? Then we had a shift of structure on the retest. I entered right here. And yeah, then we had this little very kind of complex reaction, and I didn't move my stop loss to break even because I was worried that we might come in for another liquidity grab, right? So we came in, very nice expansion. And of course, you're going to see from my stats, I had a partial at 5.5 R, and then I pretty much took the same partial right there because I was seeing this sharp drop to the downside, very corrective pullback. So I was like, okay, I just want to take one more, right? Just in case the market reverses lower from this supply. And yeah, then my final one was right there at the middle of the zone, which was precisely 30 pips and a 9.3 R, right? And then we can see pretty much the target was met. So what was wrong with taking this next trade is that we had CPI incoming and we already took the high. So overall, the bias was bearish, right? So we were potentially going to seek the Asian low. Fortunately, I micromanaged this one. So what we had is the market tapping into this zone from the morning where my entry was, right? We had a first shift. I didn't take this one, but then as we pushed, I took the second one right there. And thankfully, my broker kept me in this trade this time kept me in. Then we pushed up. I closed 50% of my position because I was just doubting the trades. Pullback tries to push, pullback tries to push. I closed another 50. I closed the whole trade right there. And then we hit stop loss. So I'm pretty happy that I closed at break even. This guy micromanaged it. And then you can see we had this massive drop. Then I was thinking of taking this long right there. A community member took it from here, which was a pretty nice trade running into the highs. And then we had lovely shorts, right? Lovely shorts. But I was not trading because again, it's already above 4 o'clock. So this is not my trading time. So yeah, pretty nice long and a break even on that day. And then I took a kind of premature loss on Friday, which I'm a little bit sad to finish the week like this. But how I framed, so I was bearish bias on that day, full bearish bias, but I was a little bit premature. I spotted that we had a spike above the Asian high, then we also had a break of structure in the 50 minutes. So I thought, okay, well, maybe the market is not going to reach towards my zone. So I took an entry that did not tick all of my criteria. So there it is. So we have this push, very nice corrective. I missed it right there. Then it pulled back. I was like, okay, well, if it comes back, I'm still going to take it. Why not? Took it. And yeah, it was immediate stop loss. Then we went to the highs, went to the lows, highs, lows again. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to wait for this zone to tap. But then as we tap the zone, I think I was monitoring right there, but it wasn't really nice. And by the time I stepped away from the chart, that is when the opportunities came in. Right, so this is pretty much my problem. I tend to step aside a little bit too fast, not really following up on price. But what we had is a beautiful tap into the zone, right? We can see precisely the middle, shifted, short opportunity right there, another short opportunity right there, and then we just very nicely flowed to the downside. First target was down there, and then of course second target was down there. We can of course go and explore how you can enter. This one was another trade, but I missed this one. Once again, I wasn't on the charts on this one to take. Beautiful trades on Friday, but unfortunately I missed them out, right? So this is my week pretty much on EU. I traded on the EU. I traded a little bit of S&P as well, but hopefully I'm gonna start showing them to you those a little bit later in my videos. And yeah, right now it's time to carry on with the analysis. Let's have a look at Euro Yen, which is giving us right now potentially a pullback or a reversal. Again, I don't know, but if we draw our weekly range, we can see that we are about to travel towards 50% of that range, which is really good. Of course, our major weekly high or low is this one, which we can potentially target. And dropping on the daily, what I really like seeing about this price is that we fully shifted on the daily, and we even did it on the 26th of April, right? We did it right here, but then it was a little bit too tough to trade right there because since the 29th of April all the way until the 11th of May, which is, yeah, 2 weeks pretty much, it was a little bit tough, right? And what we see is actually, again, 12th of May was the move, which was Thursday, which was CPI, right? So we right now actually confirmed a little bit of a bearish trend because we had the first break, then we have a confirmed lower high right now, and this is a lower low. So what we can do is we can drop a brand new range and wait for a 50% pullback and potentially take a short, right? I'm a little bit skeptical to be calling shorts right now on a yen pair, right? I can see that we pretty much came in to react from this zone. So the big question is, can we head a little bit lower? And is the sentiment going to change on this pair to the downside? Well, we're gonna have a look at UJ, and UJ is kind of starting to crack up a little bit, right? It can't push on forever. What we see is very nice expansion on EJ, and right now we are initiating kind of a nice pullback. We can see the expansion kind of happened with 3 candles, right? And we already have quite more candles to the upside. We can minimize the range like this because this is really where the move happened. So I'm gonna be looking, maybe we can even drop a level like this, right? But what I think it's important to do in this pair is to just monitor like more of an hourly to 50-minute behavior, right? Because we can push and we can just stop in the middle. And if we start shifting the structure to the downside, then you should start looking for shorts, okay? So I have no technical analysis to support a bullish bias right now because simply we have a daily reversal. We have even this little head and shoulders right there on top just that I see. We have a lower low. We have a confirmed double lower low as well. So we had the first one, lower high, lower low. So we're pretty bearish. Right now we are in a very corrective pullback. So what is the key for this pair is to wait for a bigger pullback, maybe there, maybe just above 50%, wait for the shift on the lower time frame and then to potentially take it short. Okay, so I'm bearish on Euro Yen. Let's see if the other yen pairs are also supporting this one. Let's have a look at the Aussies. So on AUD/USD, we're having a straight through open and a bearish week, right? And we have a little bit of a recovery right there with this wick, but the body is bigger than the wick, right? Which suggests that we are more bearish than we are bullish. And yeah, we took out this low this week, which was pretty good. Right now, we are also tapping into this little range right there, which is a pretty nice area of potential demand, right? But then the question is, can we really initiate a bigger pullback from right here? We have been flushing for quite some time. So again, guys, it's we know the macro perspective that it's bearish, right? So again, shorts are high probability on the Aussie, but we don't know when it's going to pull back and we don't know the best time to short, right? We already had quite a few shorting opportunities right there. But if we drop on a daily, it kind of makes a little bit more sense right now, tapping into this weekly demand, if you remember on the left, and for us right now to start creating a daily pullback, right? Pretty simple price action, push, pullback. This pullback was pretty nice, fully tapping into 50%. Can we have another one right now? That would be nice, right? We can see that pretty much that rejection happened on Friday. And what we did this week is Monday actually started very bearish. Then we had Tuesday chop, Wednesday nice pullback, Thursday flush, and then Friday recovery. Okay, a little bit tough to trade this one within these ranges right there. And yeah, just looking at it right now, yeah, we have this huge wick right there that can act as a potential lower high. Also, what I see is that we have this overall range. What did I do? We have this overall range right there that we can potentially look at. So those will be 2 areas to be looking for shorts. This one is above 50%, which is pretty good. If I try to go on the hour, yeah, but this was pretty much CPI, right? So I don't think that this one can get taken out because this is the spike low, the spike high, and then we have the reversal, right? So I don't think that this one can get taken out. Again, you can prove me wrong, but I pretty much think that this one can be like strong lower high so that we can actually even drop a range like this and say, okay, we're just traveling towards 50%, tapping into this wick, and then we can start looking for shorts from there, right? So it's not a very clear zone. We can maybe go, you can see on the 45 minutes, we have this candle. If you start dropping 30 minutes, we have these kind of candles right there. But I'm going to be looking for the market to come inside this zone and then to start shifting to a bearish market on the 50 minutes, right? Because right now we can simply see that we're in this pullback mode, potentially a couple of longs to be taken on Friday. Hopefully some of you did. But right now we are in this pullback mode on the hourly time frame, which looks pretty good, and hourly time frame as well is starting to shift up a little bit. So let's see how the market is going to enter into 0.70, if we're going to have any response, any shift of market structure, and then potentially look for shorts. If this level fails, then of course we have the upper one, and then we have to question ourselves, well, can we actually do a reversal? But I don't think so. I don't think so. I am full shorts potentially on AU. So what I'm going to simply say is wait for the pullback, wait within this wick. What did I tell you about wicks? They tend to get filled 50%. So take 50% right there, wait for it, and let's see if we can catch any shorts on AUD/USD. And let me know also what you think. And look at AJ, man, this looks like textbook shorts right now. Just not even going on the weekly. Massive drop on the 4H, pulling back right now towards 50%. So this one is even already kind of readying for shorts because we're already above 50%, right? But if we quickly explore the weekly, we're also having this kind of very nice bearish week, potentially traveling towards 50% on the week, which we already tapped, right? But I do think we could have a little bit more of a bearishness. Daily time frame, very nice push to the downside. We can even drop the daily range, which is going to get filled if we retest this wick, right? Which is very good to see. But again, keeping it extremely simple on the hourly time frame, we are having definitely a bearish market right now. Trading within this region was a bit tricky because we had like this break lower, then we had this break higher, so then you take longs from here, right? High, nice, but then we started shifting, and right now we're pretty much bearish, right? So let's see if we can get a little bit more of a pullback, shift on the lower time frame, and then potentially continuation lower. Okay, so pretty simple on the Aussies. I'm bearish. Let's wait for that pullback and let's see if we can catch any shorts. Having a look at the NZDs, we can immediately see that this currency, it's much weaker than the Aussie. And again, as I told you, we had a look that their interest rate is actually even higher than the American dollar. New Zealand, we can see that they are at 1.5, and they also hiked it by 50 basis points, right? And it's higher, so pretty much if we judge the differentiations, well, this one should be appreciating in value, but of course New Zealand is still struggling from COVID. I think their trade is really dependent on China as well, and China is kind of a little bit backing up on that. Inflation is high there as well, so pretty much the economy of New Zealand is not doing great, and we can see immediately this reflecting on price as well, right? And this is a good example why just kind of making a macro analysis based on one one variable, which could be interest rate, right, is not the best thing to do. Okay, I expect this one to trade at least to this zone and towards 0.62. Right, I have even seen forecasts from central banks saying that 62 is a potential target. And yeah, what can I say on this one? Well, we have been down for 6 weeks straight, right? So again, keep following the flow, guys. We had very little pullbacks right there. Again, we can see even on the daily, the declines are massive, right? We can see just one little bullish candle here and there, right? Just grabbing a little bit of liquidity, maybe some profit taking, and then we just continue dropping lower, right? This is extreme, right? So we can of course do the same as Aussie. We can drop a daily range, and we can of course drop a hourly range. We have that same wick that I think it's gonna be hard to go above because this wick took a lot of liquidity. This is the CPI wick as well, and of course we have pretty much the same zone as the Aussie. And knowing that the NZD is much weaker than it, then I think that this one is gonna flush quicker, right? So again, in order to keep this analysis as simple as possible, we have a very nice level right there. I'm gonna be looking for like Monday, Tuesday to pull us back into this area, then of course wait for the market to shift very nicely on an hourly and on a 15-minute time frame if you wish, and then to potentially take a short. And of course, hard time frame target is 0.62 and even 61.50, right? And this whole demand zone that we found on the weekly, right? So pretty simple, nothing more to have a look at. And of course this one is going to be pretty much the same. You can see the volume of the candle, right, compared to the other one is much bigger, right? So we had this massive push. Right now we're having this massive pullback, so dropping right there. What we had right there is a kind of a very nice distribution schematic, probably whack off. I don't understand how it works, but it kind of looks like 3 drives, final drive, push, and then we just continue to reverse into the downside. We have this daily supply, but potentially we're going to have something on the FOH, which is of course this wick right there. So there we go. Potential area to short. If we focus on the most recent hourly price action, then this is the last leg, right? So we're currently pulling back. Let's see if it's going to stop somewhere within right there and then to potentially take short, right? Very simple analysis. I actually like this one, right? Because we know that both the Aussies and both the NZDs are overall bearish. So what we simply have to wait for is and focus on shorts, wait for the pullback, wait for the lower time frame shift, and then go for it, right? Simple. Let's have a look at UJ. Finally, a bearish weekly candle after, 8 weeks of bullishness, right, on this matte pair right there. So again, can we start calling a potential reversal? Well, could be, right? Could be. We had an inside bar last week. We took out the mother candle high, and right now we can be headed for the mother candle low, right? But of course, I am skeptical. I'm skeptical about this because we're still kind of in this daily, higher low formation, right? We kind of consolidated, took out the high. Right now we are at the low. So what I need to see is another confirmed lower high, right? We can see the 4H is starting to build it up a little bit, right? We had this high right there, so we started shifting. The first shift was there, the second shift is there, and we start having like this overall bearish market. We also have a kind of a CPI candle right here that we can look at. So again, guys, I am very skeptical to call shorts on this one, simply because of course, what is going on with the overall bullish market on this one, and of course, the macro analysis on UJ. But yeah, I'm seeing shorts. Of course, we have this very strong daily demand, but if this one fails, then I do think that this one can unlock potentially a much lower pricing on this pair. So we have on this overall shift on the volatility time frame. So let's see, right? We have this very nice push to the downside that took 6 bars, and right now we are already pulling back for 7 bars. And very corrective, which suggests that the momentum is to the downside. So I'm very curious to see if we can have a similar situation right there, giving us a little bit of a pullback, a shift, and then can we have shorts? Okay, so let me know what you think in the comments. I always appreciate your thoughts as well, because we are in this together, right? I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just throwing in my opinion, and I always appreciate yours as well. But I'm starting to see a little bit of bearishness kicking in on the yen. I'm not sure if we have any news potentially from Bank of Japan or anything to support potential bearishness, right? But let's see, right? We're having the first sign. So if you're feeling risky, then take a short, right? But again, keep in mind that we are in this big macro trend. And right now we're also reacting from a daily demand that is pretty strong, right? So give it some time. And of course, if you're given an entry opportunity right there, I do think it's worth taking a gamble and taking a short on UJ. Let's explore the GBPs, and of course starting with GU. So this week we just crashed below this target right there, which was 22.50, right? So of course right now the next bearish target is going to be around 1.20, all right? So again, this is the fourth week in a row of bearish price action. So again, what we can expect is of course continuation, which makes sense. But of course, something worth noting is that, for example, I do expect GBP to be a little bit more bullish than Euro, simply because, again, if we explore this chart right there, we can see Great Britain also hiked their rates, right, on the 5th of 5th by 25 basis points. So right now they're at 1%, aligned with the US, right? If we also judge inflation, English inflation is 6.20, so they are even better than America, right? So just taking this kind of macro perspective a little bit, we can see that actually Britain is not doing that bad, right? But we don't see this one being reflected in price too much. We still have massive continuation lower. And I know that Bank of England actually had a very bearish speech from Mr. Bailey, right? So again, I am pretty bearish on this pair, right? So then the question right now is can we have a pullback? Right, so daily zone, this one looks like a very nice daily zone. A little bit tough to trade this week. We can see from the 6th of May, indecision, right there we had that last one. And even you can see on Thursday when like everything dropped, this one didn't drop as much, right? Which is, again, as I told you, it suggests that the pound is a bit stronger than the other ones. So we had this overall range right there. Right now we pushed lower. We were kind of a little bit consolidating. We can see that we also took out the daily low, and right now we're starting to react in a very bullish manner to the upside. And yes, we can take this zone right there. I don't like it much. I would love to see this upper one being retested on the pound, right? So I do think we can right now start framing a couple of long setups, simply because I like how the everything played out. It's kind of similar with EU, right? We have this zone that actually took out the previous kind of daily high, swept all of this liquidity right there, pushed, and GU loves to do this, right? So right now we are already around 50%, I would say, almost there, right? Yeah, almost there towards the 50% retest and almost towards this supply, right? And this one is pretty big, right? But I would expect for us to overall come and revisit these zones, right? So if you're feeling risky on Monday and if you have a sharp spike below, right, I would be open for potential longs. Okay, so hopefully we open with a little bit of a pullback in the Asian range, something like this, then a sharp spike, then a shift, right? And then we can potentially start looking for highs, targeting towards this zone, right? But this is, again, more like a speculation, hard counter trend trade, right? Pretty much I would be looking similar to what I look on the majority of all currency pairs, is a pullback towards this zone, then potentially to see a nice shift, and then to potentially head lower, right? Because again, it's overall bearish, but again, as I showed you with the fundamentals as well, again, if you also have a look at Euro GBP, I do expect this one to be quite bearish. And you can see, yeah, we already see this one being reflected in price. But again, just a couple of days ago, this was more bullish, than bearish, right? So what I expect to happen right now is for the euro to get a little bit weaker, so we have to see a bearish reaction on euro GBP in order to support a stronger pound, right? So I do think taking a couple of longs on GU is not a bad idea, right? But of course, keep in mind the hard time frame trend is bearish. Potentially next target is 1.20, 1.2080. Let's be precise, this is still 80 pips. But yes, if I have something like this on market open, then I'm going to be interested to be taking a long. Okay, so let me know what you guys think. There are a couple of GU masters right there. GJ, of course, we can see as the JPY crushed a little bit. UJ, we are right now completing this kind of pullback. Already a couple of bearish weeks on this one, which is really good to see. On the daily time frame, we had this massive run into the highs, massive push lower that kind of broke structure. But as we noted a couple of I'm not sure if it was, I think it was a couple of outlooks before, we were still in this daily demand, right? We had a reaction and then it was a little bit tough to trade right there. While we can already see 11th and 12th of May, we had the expansion lower, confirming actually a bearish trend. Is it too late? Well, hopefully some of you are already running into some shorts. I do think I called a couple of shorts right there and probably another one right there on Tuesday. I'm not sure. We're almost Tuesday. Yeah, probably this one was right there, a very nice opportunity to short. Then we have another one right there. So hopefully some of you are taking shorts on GJ. And right now, like all the JPYs, we're having a brand new range. Very nice push towards the downside. We're having a 50% pullback already. The last lower high is this, right? So what I would advise you to do is wait again for maybe a little bit of a bigger pullback shift and then potentially continuation lower, right? I'm bearish on this pair. Of course, we can start having some bullish reactions. I don't think so. This depends again on USDN. We have this zone that we're reacting from right now, but can we have a reversal? Well, I don't know, right? In order to have a reversal, this level has to break, right? So in order, as long as we are below this level, we short. Okay, so let's wait for a pullback. Can take any longs? Well, if you feel risky, but it's already above 50%, so this, according to my rules, if the pair is already kind of above 50%, then longs or counter trend trades are low probability, okay? So this is my outlook on GJ, this is my outlook on GU as well, and if we have a look at the Euro GBP, we can see a spike into the highs, a very nice drop, looks like a Wyckoff schematic as well. So let's see if this one is going to continue dropping lower. We have the first break, we already have the second break, which confirms a bearish market on the 4-hourly time frame. But yeah, let's see. I tell you for 100th time, I just don't understand this pair. But if you want to judge momentum between like GBP and Euro, then this is the place to go, right? So we have a couple of demand areas to be looking for right there. Right now the market is bearish, which is why I expect a more bearish Euro, right? And a more bullish pound, which is also being supported by the fundamentals. So let's see if we can have something like this, then a tap inside this zone, and then as we tap right there, it's a completely different story and we have to adapt. Okay, so to wrap it up, I'm expecting an overall bearish pound, but of course it could be a little bit bullish, so we can be looking for some longs on GU, and then of course as we start retesting supplies, then we have to look for entries. Let's have a quick look on gold. So pretty much as expected, and as I told you a couple of weeks ago when a lot of you were looking for longs, pretty much the macro and the fundamental perspective of things does not support higher prices on gold. And of course, right now we're having all the asset classes, instead of interest rates, right? Treasury bonds and then all of that stuff going lower, right? And we can see immediately gold actually this week actually closed pretty bearish, tapping 1800, right? 1.8K. So again, the question is from right there, what is the next move? Are we going to end up in a consolidation? Are we going to have a bullish reaction? I don't think we're going to have a big reversal or bullish reaction. I pretty much think that this instrument is going to continue lower, right? As long as the rates are going like this. People are putting their money probably into the dollar right now and into bonds, right? And this is also why the stock market is crashing. So we're having a pretty much a very basic scenario of hiking the rates, and of course bonds rising, stock market falling, and of course gold tends to follow up as well, I think, right? So right now, in order, if I throw any technical analysis on this one, well, what I can see is that pretty much supply is in control. We're making new lower lows and lower highs, and if I drop to the forward time frame for more like intraday trading on this one, we can see a lot of shorts. So hopefully you guys are taking shorts, following all of these breaks of structures, right? Following the lower highs, the last one being right there, a nice short right there. So pretty much right now we're trading within this range, Okay, so my last lower high is overall this zone. So if I delete everything in order to keep it straight to the point, right? So this is currently how I'm gonna view the market. Okay, we have this push. We have this little pullback right there, which is not very significant for me to drop a supply like this, right? But as long as we are within this range and as long as we remain this lower high, which is also daily lower high with this bullish candle, right? I am bearish on this pair, right? In order for me to start calling longs on this one, I would need to see a push, pullback, and then another push to confirm an uptrend, okay? So my tip is to keep shorting this pair and of course even look for liquidity targets like this, right? Because I don't see much of a reaction. We had a little bit of a reaction from this zone right there, which is this bearish candle. We just had one bullish day and right now we dropped to the downside. So I don't think we're gonna have a bigger bullish reaction for us to kind of give up maybe even a weekly pullback to the upside, right? I first think we're gonna seek the liquidity, which is below 1780, right? And then potentially initiate something into the highs. Okay, so I'm calling shorts on gold as I have been for a couple of weeks. So let's see if this one is going to continue. And of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments. All right, interesting times across the indices, the stock market, and also the crypto market. So let's have a look. In terms of US30, we're fulfilling the first target, which was a 3150, right? So we tapped it right now and we see a slight recovery, especially on Friday. We see a slight recovery from Thursday and Friday across the stock market. But I think this could be short-lived, right? So at first we had a drop of almost 12%, and right now this one can turn into a 20%. So I am looking for a bigger decline, right? Especially like on US30, I might be calling around 30K, right? So right now we're having this very nice weekly bearish leg, and yes, we are reacting from this zone, which is as expected, but again, we are bearish, right? And pretty much right now, I don't want to say, yeah, I think we're in a recession or just a correction, but it's normal, right? The stock market was a little bit overpriced, a little bit with high valuations, and right now, as also we have the Fed kind of doing the opposite of quantitative easing, right, which is quantitative tightening. So they're starting to reduce their balance sheet and money is no longer poured into the market. And when they did this, right, if you remember in the after COVID, we had this massive expansion, which was mainly driven by high valuation and the support that the Fed gave to those companies, right? But right now, as this stopped, we have companies that are minus 90% right now. So everything is getting into play, and we see a very nice pullback and getting back to the mean value of the market, which is great, right? Which is good news. So make sure that you are investing, right? In terms of intraday, keep following the flow, right? We are having bearish lower highs and lower lows. We also have the CPI wick right there. So let's see how we're going to respond from this one, and if we're going to start with a little bit of bearishness. Personally, I do not trade US30 and NASDAQ at this point. I'm only starting to trade S&P. It's a little bit less volatile, and also I'm still kind of trying to figure the lot sizes, right? I was trading like S&P and the lot sizes were good, but then I opened one contract on NASDAQ and my loss was way bigger, right? So I was like, oh, what's happening? But I'm trading like indices for the first time right now as I'm getting deeper into investing, and also I would like to also catch the short side of things, right? So I'm looking for further continuations lower. The question is can we have a slightly deeper pullback, right? If we take this most recent leg, we can see how the market is starting to kind of consolidate a little bit. So can we have a little bit of an expansion, maybe to trick up new buyers, then to continue lower? We have to see, right? But overall, what I'm calling is overall bearishness, right? And yes, right now we're tapping into demand zones, right? We see that this one, can I make this one a little bit smaller? Yeah, I can make it like this, right? Which we see we just tapped the, what is it? Yeah, 12K on NASDAQ. NASDAQ is officially in the bear market, right? We entered bear market even right there. We had this little rally to the upside again. As I told you, something that I expect to happen right now on US30, which is not yet. So US30 and S&P are not yet in bearish market, which is good, which does not suggest like a crash, right? But it's more like a slow bearish market or a recession, which of course is pretty much supported by inflation, rates, blah, blah, and all that stuff that we discussed numerous times before. But again, can we right now expect a bigger pullback? Well, it's possible, right? Because we from time to time see a little bit of corrections, right? Like this. We thought that the market bottomed out right there. We had this very nice push and people start calling longs, but what I told you is just simple technical analysis. If we have a first break of a lower high, which we had right there, that does not mean reversal, right? It can just be a liquidity gap for a continuation lower, which is what we had right here, right? If I just move right there, yep, something like this, you can see. But yes, so let's see if we can have a pullback. I'm just gonna drop this overall range. We can see the market is starting to kind of consolidate a little bit right there, and right now Nasdaq is already at the supply. We're seeing some tech stocks starting to recover a little bit on Friday, right? But again, the question is, are we fully gonna recover, or was it just a pullback, a little bit profit taking to continue to the downside, right? So I'm giving it some time, but to market open to see how it's gonna respond, to see if we're gonna start shifting to the downside for potential shorts. But also I'm expecting a little bit, maybe a little bit higher prices to rebalance a little bit, and then maybe another run into the lows, right? S&P also tapping 4K. So I've been calling 4K for quite a while. I already made a little an investment down there. So, but I expect 37, right? So taking note of the level 37, this is kind of a big buy zone for me personally. But around 38 to 37. And of course, the next one will be around 35, which is where we're going to be entering towards this zone. And also there is another significant zone that I'm looking for right there. Of course, analyzing also fundamental mean values and all the past crashes as well. I was thinking of also doing a YouTube video on this one, but there are a lot of great creators actually much better than that. But yeah, so right now we're tapping inside, we're having a little bit of a recovery. S&P is not yet in a bearish market, and we kind of are on the brink of it, right? Depending on the provider that you're using as well, almost towards it, right? And I do think we're gonna enter this bearish market and get a little bit below right there. So I'm not sure if we're gonna have a reversal right now. I do think it's just a little bit of a pullback that we're having right now. So let's see if we can come in a little bit higher, above 50%, to reprice maybe even towards this big zone, right? Or towards these little ranges, and have another drop to the downside. And of course, I'm looking for around a 38 to 37 range, which is where I might potentially even step up the game and invest even more, right? So if I take you up to a little bit of a fundamentals, we can see, of course, longest weekly losing streak since 2008, which is extreme, right? 2008, man, this was a big crash. We can see the overall performance right there for a couple of days. We can see how it's flushing. We see that the Nasdaq has the biggest losses, right? But then, of course, all of them recover very nicely. And it's very interesting to see how consumer staples are doing good, right? They're returning good. And what is very interesting for my portfolio is because I'm also invested, I have a very well diversified portfolio with individual stocks and of course with indices. But all of my consumer staples are doing good, right? They're positive. They're not making this big pullback that we have, for example, on, this big crash that we have, for example, on Apple, right? Apple, like electronics, technology, they are just crushing right now. And we see that again, Jay Powell, they will not hesitate to take extreme measures to bring inflation under control, right? So we can expect another rate hike, which can, of course, getting back to the charts right now, if we have a little bit of a pullback maybe, and then if they have the rate hike, then that can result in this final drop, right? Another important thing to cover is that we are right now trading at extreme fear, right? So this is pretty good. We can see that. I don't know why CNN analyzes rather the 125-day moving average. We're also below the 200, which is very good as well. And we see overall like net 52-week lows. I think some stocks are really reaching some extreme levels, right? But yeah, we can see 5K tapped, extreme fear trading below, which is pretty good to see, right? Because we have this extreme fear right now, which is again, guys, as Warren Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful, and be greedy when other. Wait a minute. Be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy, right? So pretty much those are the indices with a little bit of a macro perspective. Fear is driving the markets right now, so I also do expect another drop to the downside. Having a look at crypto, massive drop, man. I'm still regretting not taking my profits. I'm suffering some heavy losses as well, which is, I don't want to say it's not a big deal, right? Because it's a 5-figure loss that I'm suffering right now, but it is what it is. And yeah, so right now we are pretty much breaking below the horizontal range, the 28 level, 2880, and we even took up some liquidity below this guys right there. So again, from this moment, guys, I'm not a crypto expert and I just do not know what to expect, right? So we are breaking below these levels right now. So are we going to have a correction? Are we going to continue dropping to the downside? Well, of course, if we analyze like how it overall happens, we have like a sharp drop, then it starts to chop around, right? We have the sharp drop, chop around a little bit right there, then another bull run. But again, I do think this year could be a potential bearish market before the next bull run, right? Again, I'm not into crypto. I would appreciate any of you actually giving any insights. But right now, again, the market is just bearish. We had this massive bearish week, man. This like 5th of May, but just crushed to the downside, right? My last buy was around, I don't know where I bought, somewhere right there, and I wanted to take profit at right there. I did not, and oh man, am I pissed. So right now, yes, we're trading in this bearish range. Of course, we can just keep following the bearish market, right? And right now, we can even be looking for further shorts. And of course, if I just quickly go back right there, we have crypto extreme fear, like 9, which is very extreme, right? And we are seeing this overall decline, right? Last month, fear, last week, extreme fear, extreme, like the fear gets bigger and bigger, which is of course good, right? Because we could bottom out a little bit, but of course I see people calling like 12,000, which is pretty much like the next demand or support and resistance level. It is possible, of course, it is possible, but I would suggest you guys do not listen to gurus and all that stuff. Do your own analysis. And of course, with crypto, the thing that I do not like about crypto is that it does not have a fundamental value behind. So you cannot go and analyze it like a stock to see balance sheet, income statement, to see revenue growth, and all that stuff. No. There is nothing like this about Bitcoin, which makes it a very speculative and risky asset. But I'm expecting shorts, right? We just retested supply. So if you start shifting it a little bit, that could be nice for some longs as well. But at this moment, I just do not know what to expect. Ethereum as well. I was sure that this low is being taken, so we took it out, we retested 2K, but man, I do not want to buy. I was telling you that I might be putting some money into 2K, but no, I am not, potentially. It looks pretty good right now, like just spiking below the lows, and Ethereum hasn't even broken like the lowest low right there. It just stopped around 7. You can see how round it is, right? 17, and the low of this candle is 1701. Look at that. So looking at L values right there, it's 1701, right? So is this gonna reverse, guys? I don't know. Let me know. But yeah, I do think if you're dollar cost averaging very nice on this one, so you shouldn't be suffering like big loss. And I do think these levels are good for a buy if you really think about the long-term perspective on crypto. But yeah, so far we're bearish. If we have a pullback towards this level, I will be looking for shorts. And maybe as Bitcoin took out that major 2880 handle, I think this one can take this one as well and start rushing a little bit lower, right? So let's see. Well, pretty much I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. Right, we're in a recession. It's pretty good. Prepare yourself for investing. Also, the currency market is moving very nicely. We have those very nice interest rate differentiations. I think this analysis got a little bit too big, but hopefully you loved it. Let me know if you did down in the comments. I wish you a very relaxing weekend and a crushing week ahead of you. Make sure to stay focused because we have a lot of volume, a lot of volatility right now, and it's the time to stay focused and to make some money, right? And stay tuned for my Tuesday outlook on Telegram.